So this is a small separate video to talk about something related to the pranayama oriented recordings that I've made, because there are several different ways in which you can engage the process of breathing on a visualization and energetic level. And I want to let you know that you can utilize all these variations or any one of them during your practice with them to sort of add another dimension to what it is that you're doing. When you're first learning it, it might be a good idea to just go ahead and just do the exercise just as simply as a breathing exercise. But once you're a little bit more familiar with it, you can begin to add a visual sense of what it is that you're doing in a number of different ways, and an energetic sense as well. To begin with, there's a popular Taoist practice called the microcosmic orbit or the lesser heavenly circle, and basically you can utilize that while you're doing the breathing exercise, so that basically as you're breathing in, you're moving the breath energy into your stomach and then down through your base area, up your spine to the top of your head, and then as you're breathing out, you move that energy back down into your stomach, and that way you can circulate the energy through your body as you're doing the pranayama exercise, and that can have a very powerful effect upon the way in which the energy is utilized in your body, because it sort of spreads it and moves it around. Additionally, you can use alternate nostril breathing while you're doing it, and you can do that physically, blocking the nostrils as you're breathing, or you can do it, as I prefer at this point, just simply mentally by focusing on the nostril that you're wanting to be breathing through and moving the energy down to your base and then pushing it back up the other side. And some people suggest that you should do some sort of snaky spiral through your body as you're doing this. And I don't see a real big benefit to doing that. It just simply makes it harder. You're really drawing the energy down that side of your body, and so there's no real reason to have it switch back and forth. If you like to, that's fine. I don't see it as being all that valuable. But so basically what you would do is on an initial in-breath, you'd breathe in through, we'll just say through your right nostril, and breathe the energy down to the area of your perineum where you're doing the Muladhara Bandha later. You can even engage it slightly at the end of each breath. And then as you breathe out, you imagine the energy moving up the other side of your body and coming out the other nostril. And physically doing this is possible, but it's not necessary. You can just simply do it as a visualization exercise. Additionally, you can just utilize one pathway and experience the effect that has on you. I do recommend, if you're going to do that you do both, one after the other, at least on separate days, rather than just building up one side. Another way that you can utilize these breathing programs is a practice that a lot of these practices I at least mention in one way or another in my book of Magic Power. If you want to get more detailed instructions in these things, they're in there. But the perineum, utilizing the perineum as the focal point, so that the breath energy comes in through the perineum, moves up the spine to the crown of the head, and then as you're breathing out, moves back down. And you can vary that by, instead of going to the crown, the breath energy comes in through the perineum and comes to the third eye, and then goes back down. And a third variation on that, the breath energy can come in through the perineal area down at the base of your spine, up the spine, up to the top of the head, and then down the back of the spine. All of those are discussed in my book of Magic Power, but at least a few of those are actually part of the Kriya Yoga practices made famous by Paramahansa Yogananda. An additional practice that you might find useful is whole body energetic breathing, and that is breathing when you're breathing in, instead of focusing in the spine, experience it as a complete column of energy that just flows up your whole body, up to the top of your head, and flows down. And you can reverse that as well, having a column of energy come in from the top as you're breathing in and go up from the bottom as you're coming down. All of those different variations will add a different dimension to what it is that you're doing. Now, one thing that I would suggest is that if you're going to experiment with them, experiment with one at a time and do your whole practice doing that. I know there's a strong temptation to sort of, well, I did that for a little while. let's try something else. Instead, utilize some discretion and focus on one thing so that you can develop that experience fully and then move on to the other. In fact, I would recommend giving a week of solid practice to any one of them and then moving on to the other, with the exception of course, just doing one side of the alternate nostril breathing. I recommend varying back and forth between that. But other than that, give it a little time with each variation and discover the differences in what it does to your energy. Some of them are more invigorating, some of them are more calming, some of them are more transcendental, and some of them are more immersive into physical life. And I think that there's a universality to them, but I also think that there's an individuality to those experiences. So I'm going to let you discover which ones do what things to you on your own.